Rap News Street Politics, the best hood channel on YouTube, back with the robbery crews and flock teams coming out of some of the most notable hoods out here in the city of LA. Now, this is the first part to a mini docuseries that we doing on these crews. We got multi-million-dollar teams coming out the Inglewood families who were also dealing with the Hoovers, BPS, and the bounty hunters on their moves. We got another $1 million crew coming out of Long Beach with the Compton connection, with the Baby Insanes and the Park Villages. We got some more young dudes coming out of Inglewood, the ones that be turning robberies into murders, and we jumping it off with the first part of the series with the rich Rollin Harlem 30's, a hood that has definitely made a name for themselves on the flock scene. And like all these other crews, they've got the feds' attention with their performances out here in the streets. Now, we know this wave was definitely going on before COVID. It was popping. But when that EDD and PPP ran out post-COVID, everybody was out here assembling their teams to get cracking and strong arm in the city. Now, we're going to be going through how these hoods put together their teams, playing their moves out, and eventually the mistakes that they made that ended them up in a federal indictment. Now, a lot of people may not know, a lot of cases that happened after COVID are just now starting to wrap up and people are getting into their bids. So a lot of new details have came out on exactly what happened when everybody was trying to run their bag up. Now, of course, we don't have the best of the best on this list. Reason being is because everybody that we speak about got caught for their business. But we have to put a disclaimer out here. This is for educational purposes only, as well as entertainment. We do not condone the act of robbery or any other criminal activities on Rap News Street Politics. But we gonna see if we can tweak some of these dudes' approach and show y'all how to get cracking the right way. This is How to Rob, hypothetically, with the best hood channel on YouTube.
All you gotta do is take a risk. Don't be scared to get some chips. You wanna move some balls or you wanna hit a fence? I got some young niggas there, show you how to strip. Hey, this shit ain't rocket science, I can show you how to get it. Niggas be happy with them couple thousands, then they finish. You get the foul talking, then on hollows get descended. I ain't here for small talk, so you better respect this ism.
Now, we gotta start with the West Side Rollins, the Harlem Crips, who again have made a name for themselves on the flock and robbery scene and hit the feds' radar in 2021. Now, last year, some of their members were implicated in a burglary crew called the Rich Rollins. Now, we know that's a name that's been synonymous with the O-Car, with the bank robberies and everything that earlier members were participating in decades ago. So the Rich Rollin is not nothing new to the O-Car. But the crew last year went down on a state case for allegedly committing around 100 residential burglaries, which dated back to about 2022. Now, we know a lot of celebrities and athletes were getting their house hit. One of those instances resulted in Pop Smoke losing his life. Now, we know the Hoovers was behind that situation, but the Harlems were getting busy with them West Side neighborhood 50s, and them dudes went down. Now, that state case is an example that we can use for everybody that's touched the feds. The key thing is, through a lot of these cases that we about to go through, all of them potentially could have ended up state cases. But the FBI got involved on the LA scene after COVID, primarily targeting the 30's, because they said that it's been a rash of these situations in the city. Now, this is when the FBI started to play funny little games and somewhat bending the rules, if you will. Now, technically, everything is within the guidelines, but they hit robbery crews with what's called the Hobbs Act. And this is what turns a regular robbery state case into a federal indictment. Now, the Hobbs Act is a federal law which makes it a crime to obstruct, delay, or affect interstate or foreign commerce through robbery or extortion. So when we make it to March 4th, 2021, with Malik Powell, who also goes by the name Infant Old Boy, Kai McGee, and Marquise Garden, they committed a robbery on an individual wearing a $500,000 Richard Mille in broad daylight at a restaurant called Il Pastillo. Now, the feds picked this up for the simple reason that after the robbery, Il Pastillo had to shut down for the remainder of the day. And the feds say that alone affected interstate commerce. So that's our first piece of game for everybody listening, how the feds can take a simple, minute detail out of the play and turn it into some charges that you can't shake. Now again, March 4th, 2021, the Harlems are in Beverly Hills. There's the 3 previously named defendants along with 2 other individuals one of which is a female who is said to be the scout. Now they pull up in Beverly Hills with a black BMW that belongs to Malik Powell. They send the female off on foot to scout different spots, see who got what, different stores, mainly different people, and they looking for jewelry. Now, even though it's Malik's BMW, Marquise Garden is driving, and Powell and McGee are masked up, ready to jump out on somebody when the time comes. They hit Rodeo, don't see nothing, and are circling around Beverly Hills for about an hour until they spot their mark, which is an individual referred to as SB in the paperwork. His real name is Shay Belhassan, who is the owner of jewelry brands DBS Diamonds and the Luxury Exchange. And at this time, he had set up shop in this area by El Pastillo. Now, Powell and McGee jump out, hooded up, approach Shay, who they felt like was a fit target, after pointing out the watch he had on, pulled out the strap and said, "Give it to me." And this is where their first miscalculation came into play over here at this restaurant. Shay Belhassan starts fighting back. Clearly, this is not a small little dude that they chose to get up on. They felt like the strap was the muscle and that this dude was just gonna lay down. Clearly, that was a miscalculation. Shay begins to struggle with the weapon, and it becomes even more apparent to these dudes when Shay stands up, and he's 6'3", and he's able to tussle these dudes to the point where they lose the weapon and it hits the floor. Now, they were able to overpower this dude and get the Richard Mille off his wrist. This is a Richard Mille RM 1103 rose gold flyback, again, allegedly worth about a half a ticket, sitting on this man's wrist, broad daylight. But after the struggle ensues, somebody from Harlem picks up the weapon and 4 shots go off, missing the victim and hitting an innocent bystander named Amanda Shawhan in the leg. A very sloppy move on the play. These dudes then go on to leave the gun on the scene, take the watch, and they get out of there. So we know it's a lot to unpack with this situation, aside from the fact that they miscalculated their target. This is a common thing when it comes to strong arm and shit, extending the play. Now, what do we mean by extending the play? A lot of these dudes in this series have what I would call play extenders. A lot of niggas is not just going for money. When you get the money, the play is pretty much over at that point, other than your escape, of course. But when you go for things like a watch, there's multiple steps that have to come after the watch that puts the move in jeopardy. Number one, none of these dudes, I'm sure, were watch aficionados. None of them did an authentication check on this watch to see if it was even solid. They seen something shiny on somebody's wrist and decided to jump. What if this dude was flexing like a lot of people be doing? What if he was flexing and this was a fake watch and y'all did all of this for a fake watch? But the extension comes after you leave the play. Now you gotta go sell the watch. You keeping the product in your hands for an extended period of time, which brings in many different factors to the move. Number one is hot as hell. Especially a shot went off, somebody got hit, and you got the merchandise on you. That merchandise right there is a ticking time bomb, and you gotta get it off your hands as fast as possible. The number one place to get it off your hands in LA is downtown LA. So that means them dudes had to go from Beverly Hills to downtown LA, or had to be in communication with a buyer. Now you introduced another party into the shit where you can ask this dude to meet you. But most of the time, y'all know how these buyers be. They want you in a specific spot. You gotta pull up on them. The shit is not pristine when you got these play extenders. When you're going for anything other than money, the risk rises and the level of expertise rises with that. Clearly, these dudes were very amateur over here in Beverly Hills, picking any target for desperation. Now we're getting into the core of how all this shit plays out. The number one thing behind robbery, flocking, burglary, whatever it is desperation. Usually there's a goal that needs to be met by an individual that takes them to a point where they gotta go get it. Now, the second step to that desperation becomes greed. Most of the time, this ain't your first rodeo with this shit. You've done it before, you've met that initial goal that started you in the lifestyle, and then you got greedy, realized that you can keep doing this, and that's what brings us to the furtherance of a play. But like everything, we've heard the pimpin' talk about this type of shit. Many different aspects get affected differently when you insert the gangbanging into the equation. Not only do you have desperation that enhances to greed, but now that the gangbanging is involved, You get people not wanting to look weak in front of their homies, and you get the Bogart politics. You get the tough man, macho man shit that goes along when you dealing with the gangbanging on these robberies. And all these factors, I would say 7.5 times out of 10 result in the play going left at some point in time. Now back to the scene over here at 2:09 p.m. Again, in the middle of the day, broad daylight, Beverly Hills. It's a favorite spot for dudes looking to get cracking, but homework has to be done. Beverly Hills Police Department uses a system called Milestone, which is an integrated citywide camera system. Now we know a lot of different cities or neighborhoods are gonna have systems like this, but you can only imagine how it's utilized in Beverly Hills. It allows residents and businesses in Beverly Hills to connect their own personal cameras to the Beverly Hills system through a registration process called Beverly Hills Connect. Milestone helped track this BMW from the initial point of it entering Beverly Hills a little after 12 o'clock, March 4th, 2021. It watched the female jump out on Rodeo, scout. She got back into the car. It watched 2 of the male defendants jump out and scout. It tracked their whole movements through the city for their whole duration of the trip. And along with other businesses' camera surveillance systems and witness statements, they came up with a few identifiers of who they was potentially dealing with. But not only that, with the initial miscalculation of the target, like I said, Shay, 6'3", at the time of this robbery, he was 40 years old. He was able to bleed one of these dudes, and Kai McGee's blood was left on his shirt after the scuffle that they had for the gun. But even before they analyzed the blood, like I said, the Harlems had made a name for themselves, and for some reason, Beverly Hills PD contacted Officer Chaz Scott out of the Southwest Gang Unit, somebody who has patrolled the Harlems, and he comes in and states he's made prior contacts with Malik Powell, and he's for show from Harlem 30's. He said he's well acquainted with Powell's figure and appearance. Now, to go along with that, he said this fits Powell's MO. He had a previous robbery in Nevada in the past year, and he said he also had contact with both other defendants, Kai McGee, who had told him his name was Cameron Smith at one point. McGee also having 2 prior robbery arrests, one in 2018 and one in 2019. And he said he also was familiar with Marquise Garden from previous run-ins in the Harlems as well. And mind you, all this is state police work. The feds aren't even on this yet. And on March 6, 2021, 2 days after the move, the BMW is located on Vermont and Francis. In the Francis Locos click at MS-13, we know Vermont to the south goes right into the Harlem's hood. These dudes were not far from their section. The police find the BMW parked and tow it back to Beverly Hills. Mind you, it's 2 days later. These dudes did not get rid of the whip, number one, and they clearly didn't clean it out. And this is when a Jiffy Lube receipt with Powell's number is found, and they were able to find a Hyundai service receipt in the BMW and Garden's name, which also had his phone number on it. So they got 2 receipts in the car matching 2 of the suspects that they believe was on the move 2 days prior. Now, with those phone numbers, of course, you know they were able to tap into those cell towers and see that those phone numbers pinged by the scene of the robbery in Beverly Hills. But they wasn't done yet. Also in the BMW, they got a hotel parking receipt along with the key card and the room number on it, which was that LAX Renaissance Hotel. And just like this, the FBI comes in. Again, they stated that this affected interstate commerce due to the fact that El Pastillo had to shut down for a period of time after the robbery or the shooting. Whether El Pastillo had to shut down for an hour, 2 hours, 24 hours, they say all of that affects interstate commerce because of the merchandise that's in El Pastillo being out-of-state merchandise, as well as the business dealings of El Pastillo reaching beyond state lines. That's some shit right there that a lot of people don't be paying attention to when they press play on these moves. If the feds want you at any time, they coming to get you. Because this was a bullshit play, but a $500,000 watch off of somebody's wrist, not even a store, got them people involved. So when the feds jump in, they serve a federal subpoena on the Renaissance Hotel. And this is where they see the black BMW pull up with another vehicle. They see the dudes meeting up with the female scout, dressed in the same clothes that she was wearing when she was scouting Beverly Hills. And along with them phone numbers, they tap that Instagram. Now, Powell was caught talking to a lot of his homies from the 30s about these watches. The feds got a deleted message out of IG where they say Hot Boy KK was telling him to stay low because that move was all over the news. And he also sent them the Instagram of somebody named James VTA. Now, James VTA is the jeweler downtown. Like I said, it's a lot of jewelers that be downtown doing legit business and, of course, getting chilly on the back end. But the key thing everybody got to know, once them buyers get plugged up, 99.8% of the time, them dudes is snitching. I want to say 100%, but we can't put an absolute on everybody. But 9 times out of 10, the buyers is going to be telling. And of course, by this time, McGee's DNA comes back as a match from the victim's clothing. And later in this series, we'll show y'all how they glue people with DNA as well, in terms of how they come up with a match. But this is when they start taking everybody down. Powell goes down in Riverside at the Arlington Inn, and a picture of the watch is on his phone. And with them choosing the wrong target over here, we gotta title this one, If You Fuck With the Wrong People Gonna Fuck With You. Nobody thought the feds was gonna come off of yanking this dude watch. Now, hypothetically, how should this have played out? With this one specifically, I think these dudes should have went back home that day. My thing is, they made it to Beverly Hills around 12/1. You know they was up early on this shit. They was plotting and planning on coming out here and getting some chili, but didn't have all their ducks in order. They didn't have no plan at all. They was clearly on each other's line like, hey, we finna bust this move, be ready. 11 o'clock. Somebody probably got up at 9 or 10, lit they blunt, got they shit together and jumped in the car, picked everybody up. And when they got over there, this is where the bullshit starts, especially, like I said, when you got tough guy shit going on, you got niggas that don't wanna look weak. I'm pretty sure somebody in that car was like, man, it ain't looking the way we thought it was gonna look out here. It never does look that way. Unless your shit is completely planned out, your target is solid, it never looks how you think it's gonna look. They got out there and picked a random. But whoever was in that car that felt like it was off didn't speak up because they didn't want to look like a buster. My thing is, you can live to fight another day. If the shit don't look clean, it don't look clean. So I think them sloppily picking this target was the initial problem and the entire problem. But usually you see this type of shit with dudes that are not seasoned and haven't really ran up into a spot or ran a full play inside of an actual spot. This is when you get that old purse snatching type. This is a purse snatch type of crime. A watch on somebody's wrist is a real opportunist, unplanned situation. And like I said, no different than a purse snatch. And then when it comes to that situation with the weapon, as soon as SB started fighting back, the dude with the weapon was supposed to create separation. Now, he probably got up too close on the individual. My thing, 2 people walked up to him. Why is both of y'all finna hug this dude? It needs to be a little egress on the target because your other dude is there. Also, reason being is your surroundings. You up close on this dude, what about somebody else around him? He didn't create enough separation when the tussle ensued. That's how dude was able to reach that gun. And then lastly, the 4 rounds that got let off were unnecessary. Again, initially, if you had a created separation, one of 2 things would have transpired. Number 1, the wrong person wouldn't have got shot. This lady wouldn't have got shot. If they was gonna pull the trigger, it probably sadly would have been Shay. Due to the separation, he would have tried tussling with the closest individual, which was the watch snatcher, and the person with the gun would have ended up shooting him. Or once the separation was created, you now get Shay to focus on the immediate attacker, which is the one trying to take the watch off. This is when you can do other things. I'm not gonna go into details without firing the gun. But now that his back is somewhat turned to you, you can take another approach to the situation. So all bad on this instance with the Harlems coming over here to Beverly Hills. But all these dudes were young at the time of this move. With McGee, this situation happened 3 days after his birthday. He may have been sitting around on his birthday with no chili in his pocket and they devised a plan, but he was 18 at this time when the situation was committed. So, he wasn't from Harlem for that much time. And his people tried to plead his case with not only using that fact, but also his upbringing. The judge was not hearing it, hit Kai McGee with 144 months. Now, Malik Powell, they had a few different elements brought up in his sentencing memorandum where they tried to get his time reduced, where they spoke about his father getting killed all the way back in 2006. He was killed over what his family said was gangbanging on 48th and Budlong when somebody walked up to him while he was on his bike. They spoke about retaliatory shootings and members from another hood running into their house when he was young, He moved around a lot. They sent him out to Vegas. And as soon as he came back from Vegas, it said the 30's embraced him and he started getting busy. The judge also didn't show him too much leniency. He also hit with 144 months. And Marquise Gardone, the driver, he seemed to have the most leniency out of the whole situation. Of course, he didn't get out, point a gun at nobody. He wasn't there for the discharging of the firearm. And again, he was the oldest out of his other two co-defendants on this indictment, being in his 30s. But he got hit with 60 months, 5 years, for this situation that played out over here in Beverly Hills. But like I said, this is the first installment to this mini docuseries. Next up, we got a $1 million crew coming, and we gonna see how they got down in comparison to the West Side 30's. Rap News, Street Politics, the best hood channel on YouTube. We out.